Welcome back, scholars, to our Digital Academy. I am Professor Spark. Whether we are turning the pages of a timeless novel, our mission remains the same. Will today's sweep us into the concert hall? Let's find out together.
All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're exploring how a deceptively simple story about an aging fisherman is, well, actually a profound lesson on resilience, dignity, and the human condition. We're looking at Ernest Hemingway's 1952 masterpiece, The Old Man and the Sea. Now, on the surface, it's a really straightforward tale of a man fishing in the Gulf Stream. But as we pull back the layers today, you're going to see that it is so much more than that.
So to kick things off, let's start with a bit of a provocative question. Can you lose everything, but still win? It sounds totally contradictory, right? Well, to answer this, we need to look at the story of Santiago. He's an aging Cuban fisherman who, was once deeply respected for his strength and his skill. But as we meet him at the start of the story, his community basically regards him as incredibly unlucky. His golden days seem entirely behind him.
And just how unlucky is he? 84. Santiago has gone exactly 84 consecutive days without catching a single fish. I mean, imagine showing up to your job for nearly 3 months and accomplishing absolutely nothing. This isn't just a dry spell, folks. It's a full-blown existential crisis. In fact, the streak is so bad that it forces his young, devoted apprentice Manolin to leave him. Manolin's parents actually force the boy to work on another, luckier boat, which leaves Santiago to face the vast ocean completely alone.
So what happens next? Well, determined to prove his luck hasn't abandoned him, Santiago sails way out into the Gulf Stream, farther than anyone else dares to go. And it's out there that he hooks an absolutely massive marlin. This sparks an agonizing, epic 3-day battle of endurance. But tragically, after finally securing his prize, the blood draws sharks, and they consume all of that hard-won meat. Santiago returns home completely exhausted, with literally nothing but a giant skeleton lashed to his skiff.
Now, to truly understand this story, we've got to talk about Hemingway's famous iceberg theory. Hemingway had this very deliberate writing style, where only a tiny portion of the meaning appears on the surface. The tip of the iceberg, so to speak. That simple physical plot we just reviewed? Yeah, that is merely the tip of the iceberg. It's hiding massive, foundational themes of mortality, faith, and human purpose directly below the waterline for us to infer.
Which brings us to Section 1, Beneath the Surface, Decoding the Hidden Symbols. Let's crack open those hidden metaphors Hemingway wove into the very fabric of the ocean. Every single element on Santiago's journey represents a universal human experience. The sea isn't just water, it's life itself. Beautiful, mysterious, and completely indifferent. Then we have the marlin, which represents the ideal and the worthy struggle, while the sharks symbolize time and inevitable loss. And finally, the lions represent hope and spiritual vitality. Let's actually break a few of these down a bit further. Let's zoom in on the marlin first. This giant fish isn't just some animal or a piece of prey. It actually mirrors Santiago himself, acting as his noble double. Think about it. Both of them are proud, strong, solitary, courageous, and completely willing to endure immense suffering. By battling and ultimately killing the marlin, Santiago is engaging in a mutual contest of endurance, and he's symbolically confronting his own mortality. It's truly a battle between equals. But then, in stark contrast, we have the sharks. Notice that they arrive only after Santiago has accomplished his greatest feat. They are the forces that consume achievement. They symbolize decay and that heartbreaking reality that life's greatest accomplishments are always vulnerable to dark forces completely beyond our control. Essentially, the sharks represent time and death, coming to take back what was won. Now, let's talk about the intense isolation of this journey. Out there in the Gulf Stream, Santiago's only conversation partners are the fish, the birds, the sea, and himself. But despite being utterly isolated for days on end, his constant conversations with his surroundings show us something really important. Genuine solitude isn't emptiness. Instead, it is a profound opportunity for reflection, where he actually finds true companionship in nature itself.
Hemingway also weaves in some very powerful underlying imagery, specifically strong parallels to the story of Christ. Santiago carries his heavy mast on his shoulders just like Christ carrying the cross. His hands are deeply wounded by the fishing line, heavily resembling the crucifixion. He collapses repeatedly from sheer exhaustion, and ultimately his sacrifice benefits others, even if he gains nothing materially. These subtle parallels really elevate Santiago from just a mere fisherman into a universal symbol of sacrificial endurance.
Which brings us to one of the most uplifting symbols in the text: the lions. Santiago repeatedly dreams of lions playing on African beaches. These are memories from his distant youth. And crucially,
At the very end of the novel, after all his agonizing losses, Santiago falls into a deep sleep and dreams of the lions once again. This is huge because it proves that while his physical body has aged and been battered, his inner spirit remains incredibly youthful, full of hope, and absolutely unconquered.
Moving on to Section 2, the philosophy of the undefeated, redefining success. It's time to see how Hemingway shifts our entire perspective on what it means to be a hero.
You see, Hemingway demands we separate two entirely different concepts, destruction and defeat. Destruction is simply physical loss, like losing the marlin's meat to the sharks. Defeat, on the other hand, is the surrender of the spirit. You can be destroyed physically, sure. Your external prizes can be taken away. But defeat only truly happens if you surrender your inner spirit, which is something Santiago absolutely refuses to do.
This leads directly into how we perceive hardship. In this story, pain is not portrayed as some meaningless punishment. Now, instead, Santiago's journey teaches us that accepting suffering without self-pity is a necessary path to wisdom. It is a measure of your commitment, and it's proof of your courage. Hemingway shows us that true grace is revealed not when things are easy, but precisely in the face of sheer adversity.
This explainer also highlights a really critical shift in how we view our environment. Nature is not an enemy to be conquered. Humans are a part of nature. We're not masters of it. Santiago doesn't hate the sea or the creatures in it. He loves the sea, the stars, the birds. The struggle is one of mutual respect. And this shows us that a true final victory is kind of an illusion, because nature will always remain vast and completely beyond our ultimate control.
So, what's the ultimate takeaway here? Well, true greatness lies not in avoiding hardship or guaranteeing victory, but in facing adversity with integrity, endurance, and grace. Think about it. When Santiago returns, Manilene and the astonished villagers see that giant skeleton, and they realize something really profound. Santiago's greatness isn't measured by the meat he brought back, his material success, but by his indomitable character and his unwavering perseverance.
And this brings us to the most famous, resounding philosophy of the entire novel. A man can be destroyed but not defeated. It is such a powerful mantra, summarizing the entire idea that our inner dignity can absolutely outlast any external failure. Honestly, it's the very core of Hemingway's message to the world.
I want to leave you with a final question today. When life inevitably strips away your accomplishments, when the sharks come for your prize, will you allow yourself to be defeated, or will your spirit remain unconquered? I'll leave you to reflect on this profound lesson from the sea, challenging you to find your own unconquered spirit the next time you face impossible odds. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.